The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good evening, everyone. This is the Select Board meeting of Tuesday, April 13th, and we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance, and I will lead it tonight. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America,
and to the republic
for which it
stands,
stands,
one nation,
one nation,
God,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, just my usual reminders at the start of every meeting. This meeting is being recorded. Any comments or questions that the public pose become part of our public record. And if you do have a question, would appreciate it if you would use the question box to pose your question or your comment, as that's the easiest way for us to recognize and to see that you have a comment. So thank you. So with that, let's start with open forum. And the first thing on open forum is on behalf of the board, we'd like to thank the Westford Over 30 Slow Pitch Softball League for helping out with cleaning up the annual spring cleanup of the Veterans of Foreign Wars fields on West Prescott Street. We very much appreciate your help and your willingness to pitch in. It's with help from folks like you and from groups like you that, help the town keep all its amenities going and clean and workable for everybody to enjoy. So to the Men's Over 30 Slow Pitch Softball League, thank you very much. And then also the other announcement I have, and I know Patty will be talking about this a little bit later, but I just want to remind people who are tuning in now that if you want to vote in the town elections on May 4th, and we certainly urge everybody to vote in the town elections on May 4th, the last day to register is tomorrow. So please, if you haven't already, get out there and register to vote. And there will be voting by mail again and drop off, and Patty will explain that a bit later on in our meeting. So anybody else from the board have anything for open forum? Okay, seeing none, and I don't see anything from the audience. So with that, we can move on to our 7:05. Oh no, we have 2 minutes before we can open our public hearing. So let's go to minutes. Okay. We have minutes for release from March 9th, 2021. And we also have minutes from the joint meeting with the FinCom from April 1st, 2021. But I think we have to hold those again because Mark and Anita, you were the only two who were there. Scott, I know, was also there, but he's not on that. He's not on our meeting tonight, so let's hold those. And if there is a motion to approve the March 9th, 2021 minutes.
So moved.
Second? All those in favor, Mark?
Yes.
Anita?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so now let's go back to our public hearing. And we have a public hearing for request for a transfer of General Law, Chapter 138, Section 15, all alcohol beverages retail package store license from RH Corporation doing business as Littleton Road Liquors, 411 Littleton Road, to Rismi Saf doing business as Littleton Road Liquors at 441 Littleton Road. Is there a motion to open and waive reading of the public meeting notice?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, Mark?
Yes.
Anita?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Aye. I know that Attorney Tron is out there representing the applicant. I guess, Attorney Tron, is there anything that you would like to say?
You'll have to unmute yourself. There we go. Hello?
Hello? Okay, I can't, oh, wait a minute.
No, it shows us unmuted.
He said I can't speak. Should I just type? Sure.
I wish
But
Jody
you-
could, but maybe he can.
But maybe, Patty, we can hear you, but we can't speak. Sorry. Okay, Patty, are you out there, Patty?
I'm going to make her a panelist.
Okay. There she is, Patty. Patty, is the license, is everything in order? Hi, Patty.
Hello, how are you? I didn't know I was coming on so soon. Yes, actually, Andy handled all of this and the transfer is in order. All the criteria has been satisfied, and from what we can see, it's ready to be approved and sent to the ABCC.
Okay, and Attorney Tron has typed that he's with his client. They are tip certified and eagerly waiting to work in the town.
Perfect.
So with that, any questions from the board?
Make a motion to approve the transfer of the all alcohol beverage license from RH Corporation doing business as Littleton Road Liquors, 441 Littleton Road, to Reamsey Soth doing business as Littleton Road Liquors, 441 Littleton Road.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Mark,
Yes.
Anita,
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Aye. So good enough. You are all set. Welcome to Westford, and we wish you good luck. And I need a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Second.
And all those in favor, Tom?
Aye.
Anita?
Aye.
Mark?
Yes.
Okay. All right, we are now at our,
Excuse me, Ms.
Yeah.
Chair, as the clerk, you did not say which way you voted.
I did, I said aye.
Okay, thank you. Just for clarification.
Okay, thank you. I'm glad you keep me on my toes. Okay. We're at our consent agenda, which is a little long tonight. So anyway, let me go through the consent agenda. We have a request for a banner for the Westford Academy Class of 2021 graduation. The applicant is Sarah Bischoff on behalf of Westford Education Foundation. The dates are Friday, May 28th to Monday, June 7th, and the location is in front of the First Parish Church. We have a request for the use of the town common for yoga class, and the applicant is Westford Health Department. The dates are Thursday, April 29th through June 3rd. The time is 4:15 to 5:15. We have an event, concert on the common. The applicant is Alice Phelan, VP of the Parish Center for the Arts. The date is Saturday, June 26th, with a rain date of Sunday, June 27th from 3 to 7 p.m. And also on Saturday, August 21st, with a rain date of Sunday, August 22nd from 4 to 7 p.m. And Saturday, September 25th, 2021, with a rain date of Sunday, September 26th, 2021 from 2 to 6 p.m. We also, next is an open mic on the common. The applicant is Alice Phelan, VP of the Parish Center for the Arts. The dates are Sunday, July 25th, 2021, with a rain date of August 1st, 2021. Time is from 4 to 8 p.m. And then we have special license requests for comedy night. The applicant is Dana Gennaro, Saturday, June 19th, 2021, from 1 p.m. to 11 p.m. at the Summer Village Pavilion. A murder mystery show, and all of these are at the Summer Village Pavilion, and the applicant is Dana Gennaro for all of these. The next one's the murder mystery show, Saturday, July 10th, from 1 p.m. to 11 p.m. Hypnotist, on Saturday, July 24th from 1 p.m. to 11 p.m. and casino night from 1 p.m. to 11 p.m. on Saturday, August 14th. So, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Sounds like fun. So a motion.
We can go to casino night, we can go to yoga, and then we can listen to a concert. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor, Tom?
Aye.
Anita?
Aye.
Mark?
Yes.
Aye. Okay. All right, we are at our next item, which is Friends of Bruce Freeman Rail Trails presentation of their outdoor art request. And I believe Emily Teller and maybe Chris Barrett, I'm not sure if he's out there or not, but I know Emily has a presentation for us.
Okay, so if we want Emily to run her own presentation, then I'm going to have to promote her up to a panelist.
Okay.
Emily, can you hear us?
I can hear you, and I'm happy to open my presentation.
Okay, hold on. I'll have to make you presenter.
Sorry. Such power you have, Mike Wells.
There we are.
Okay, I'm putting this up on my screen. And I need to make it full screen, I think. Oh, webinar would like to capture the computer screen. Okay. It says deny, but I'm doing open system preferences. It only really gave me deny. But here it comes, I think.
Mike, you can also run it for her if
Yeah.
I don't have it. I don't have it.
it's in the packet.
Oh, it is?
Well, it's
Yeah.
opening up. So
Okay,
I think,
good.
I think
We
we're good.
can't see it, so
I know. I'm clicking on it. I'm saying open up, and it did this several times earlier. Okay, that's not the one I want yet. I want this one. Here we go, I think. Ooh, security, privacy.
Mike, I do think you can open it through the packet if she's
yeah, I'm
having.
just doing it. I'm just going to get it, fetching it now.
Okay, sorry. The second one I have. I don't know why it's not just opening on my
Okay, we
screen.
can we'll have Mike do it, Emily.
Okay. Oh, share my web.
Okay, I see it.
Here's you guys.
Oh, we see you, Emily.
I know. Hello. I see me. So why can't I do my?
Okay, here we go. I can show it here, Emily. Hang on.
Thank you very much. The next one I think I can show, but
So I have to take it back now. Hang on.
thank you for your patience. So in the meantime, while we're waiting for this to come up, I would very much like to tell you about some wonderful news of the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail on either end. As you know, the bridge over Route 2 is being constructed, and it should be ribbon cutting in November of 2022. The stanchions are there. It's just fabulous. It's amazing. So if anybody drives near the Route 2 Rotary, they'll see it. And in tomorrow night at the Conscom in Lowell is talking about the paving of the Jarvis car dealership, which will allow people to go from the end of the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail across the National Amusements and Cross Point parking lot to Industrial Avenue, where there will probably be a full traffic light, and then continue on what Lowell is calling a connector trail to go to the Target and Marshall's parking lot under the connector. And there's a tunnel there that they hope to have be the first legal graffiti art gallery in the state. So people can do graffiti there and not worry about being arrested. And that will be another link. It'll connect the Lowell neighborhoods that were disconnected when the connector was built 50 years ago with the employment opportunities and things in South Lowell. And also it will go over to the river, and it will be the final connection with the 200-mile Bay Circuit Trail, which goes from the New Hampshire border all the way down to the Cape. So great things are happening all along this trail. And in Westford, last year in West Concord, the Friends were part of the inaugural funding of 12 doors that were installed by artists from the umbrella. It was called Go Outdoors. And if you could do the next slide, I think you all know the purpose of the rail trail, so I can skip through that. Basically, we are to promote the use and enjoyment of the rail trail. This is the Friends mission, and to work for other connections, to work for trails and paths around the rail trail, and also to assist the communities through which the rail trail passes to maintain it in good condition. Chelmsford just received a $90,000 Mass Trails grant to redo the surface because they had so much root incursion. So the surface in Chelmsford of phase 1 has been completely redone. And the memorandum of agreement with the state is that if the towns do the maintenance, if the trail has to be rebuilt, like it did have to be at the Cape, that the state would take that on. So that's pretty important for us to remember that. Here again is the whole Bruce Freeman Rail Trail from Lowell down to Route 2 in Framingham. And Sudbury has all the money for their portion of the construction commitment ready to go. And the tip is going to be voted on next week. The Friends have been showing up every week for that funding, and the $13 million for that should be committed to the tip next week. Keep going, please. Next slide. So in West Concord, we contributed $3,000 towards this Go Outdoors installation of 12 doors. And there were 12 different artists. They each had a blank door that they were given, and they could do anything they wanted with it. And it was displayed from July through November 30th. Next slide, please. And these are just some examples of the types of doors that were installed. As you can see, they're local, they're environmental, they're funky, they're fun, they're unexpected. And we were so happy, and the response from the West Concord installation was so positive that I said, hey, I think we could probably do something like this in Westford, but maybe with not as many doors, but the artists would be given their doors back to rehab, and then the umbrella people will install it. There's no cost to the town for this project. Next slide, please. So this is the type of thing. We will not have the shelf one or the dog one, but we will have the sunflower one. And we have also commissioned one new door from an artist, which is really exciting because obviously commissioning new works is kind of really what institutions should be about. So we're excited about that. And the next slide, please. And on the left, you can see the back of one of the doors. So the artist paved it, and they're spaced way far apart. Ours will be even further spaced apart, but people don't congregate around them. They just sort of see them as they go by, and they're very different from each other, and they're unexpected. So we want people to really enjoy the rail trail. Next slide, please. So basically, we're asking you to support this project. It doesn't cost anything for Westford. It's temporary, so it's just from probably mid-April or the end of April into November when the trail is mostly used. We're covering all the expenses, which include the installation and the removal and the cost to the artists, and the installation will be done by the umbrella. Next slide, please. And there is a video if you wanted to see that. You all can write down this video slide, but there will be, as you see, there's a notice there saying, what does it say? Please wear a mask, maintain social distance, and there will be signage that the umbrella will put up. They'll put 2 banners up probably at either end of the Westford section of the rail trail, although 1 or 2 doors will be in Carlisle. So Carlisle Select Board approved this last December when we first thought about it unanimously. And we wanted to wait until the Friends Board had actually voted the funding before bringing it to you. Last night, I went to the Parks and Rec meeting, and because they are really the overseers in Westford of the rail trail. Jim Duane is kind of the point person for, just like Pat Savage used to be. And he oversees maintenance crews and stuff like that too. So I went to them, and Chris and I, and presented this to them, and they were really thrilled about the idea and happy about it, and had some good questions, and wondered whether they should take a vote. We didn't really ask them for approval, but they did take a formal vote, and it was unanimous last night. And I told them I was coming to you tonight to ask for the same kind of support. So I'm happy to answer any questions about that. I also, Chris, bless his heart, went out today on the rail trail and took pictures from the potential sites that he and I had talked about having the doors installed. And if you could indulge me, I have on my screen the full presentation from Chris. I don't know, can you see that? Do I have to do? Okay. Maybe I am sharing my webcam. Okay, let's see. Open, oh, I think, did you get this too? I think he sent it, Mike, today. Samantha might have sent it on, not have sent it on to you. So I'm opening my, okay, here are my preferences. This is the problem. I don't really know about doing this. Screen recording. I don't know what to sign up. Let me see if Chris is on.
Can you email it? Mike, if she emails it to you.
Chris is on. So maybe if you could make Chris a presenter instead of me, he would work this out better. Because what he did today was...
Wait, hang on 1 minute. Mike, if either Emily or Chris emailed what they're trying to show to you, can you then show it?
Is Mike on?
Did we lose Mike?
So
Sorry,
I have...
I muted myself. Chris, do you have it available?
Chris, you're muted. Chris, you're muted.
Sorry about that. Yes, I do have it. I don't know. Do I have the permissions to share my screen though, Mike?
I've just given it to you.
Oh, fantastic. Let's see if it's going to let me do that. All right. And
Thank you, public, for all of your indulgence for this. I'm going to send it to Mike just in case.
Okay.
Okay, so you guys, are you able to see my screen or?
Yep. Well, we see the presentation.
Presentation. All right, perfect. So, yes, as Emily pointed out, we put together this quickly just to give folks some understanding of what we're thinking about in terms of the locations for the doors along the rail trail in Westford. We are trying to follow the original concept that this whole exhibit was based off of, which is an exhibit that was showcased in New York City, in which one of the linear parkways there had a series of artworks displayed. And in Concord, of course, they followed that with spacing the artwork out over the rail trail. So rather than having it all clustered together in one location, we thought it would be more pleasing and more true to the original concept to have it spaced out along the section of trail in Westford. So this is just a snippet of the section of trail in Westford. Starting down at the very bottom of the screen is Route 225 and 27, and we have two located down there. And then where the trail crosses 27, there's a potential third or maybe a fourth that could be located there. Another location for a fourth door might be across from Ashley. There's a trail that comes in from Ashley that allows for a fairly flat section of space for us to put these doors on. And I should talk a little bit about that. We obviously want to site these doors in such a way that they don't impede visibility of the trail users. We want to put them on the trail in such a way that they do not get hit by somebody using the trail. So Unfortunately, for our particular trail and phase one in general, when they built the trail, they put a lot of high railings along a lot of the section of trail. So where we don't have high railings, we also have drainage ditches, which also cause some complexities, as well as the original berms that go alongside the railway itself. So it limits us a little bit with in terms of the places that we can put these doors. And we also wanted to be sensitive to abutters' concerns, so we tried to locate them in such a way that they wouldn't directly impact an abutter. So this is just a close-up of the first two doors. You can see we've got about 140 feet to the nearest abutter here from these doors. It's located, we're proposing to locate them on the off side of the trail away from the butters. And of course, the abutters on the left-hand side, they're going to have Route 27 between them and the doors. So we took a couple screenshots of what this would look like from the vantage of the doors. So you can see just barely, you can kind of see two landmark through the trees. This, of course, no leaves right now. This will all grow in. They have a fence and a high berm on 176 Carlisle Road, so they wouldn't be able to even see these doors from their point of view. Moving on to the next location. Whoops, this is going down on the wrong direction. So these are doors 3 and 4. So this is where the trail crosses 27. We actually have a nice grassy field here. We already have 2 benches. Flowers are planted here. So this seemed like a great location to have 1 or 2 doors. We've got about 175 feet to the nearest abutter. And then, of course, the other ones that are across the street, you have 27 in between us and the rail trail there. I think the sight lines to these 2 houses are pretty far away. You can see from where the doors would be located. These houses are far, far away from where the doors would be. And this would be right around where the benches are. You can see some of the flowers that are planted there. So I think that would be a really nice spot for those 2 doors to either be, or to have 1 door there and potentially put another door down by Ashley Place. There's, you can't really see it because the trees here, but there's a trail that comes across, good bit of flat space here. And I think maybe if I can show the trail itself here. Yeah. So, these are the abutters. I mean, you really can't even see them. You're talking to almost 200 feet away in both these cases. So plenty of buffer between us and between the doors and the abutters there. And then the last 2 would be down at the very end of where the trail is before we get into Chelmsford. And we're proposing maybe 1 on one side of the trail, 1 on the other side of the trail. Again, we have 27 between these abutters, so they shouldn't really be impacted by, trail users stopping and looking at the doors. And then obviously we have a big field here and no other abutters there. Just for completeness, you can kind of see how far away those residences are. So that's kind of the high level proposal of where we put them. Emily and I both thought it would be appropriate if and when we do get approval for doing this, that we work closely with the staff from Umbrella, since they have deep knowledge about the installation that they did in Concord, and get feedback from them about the exact positioning. But I think in general, this was probably how we would propose to them that the way we'd want to lay it out, and we'll go from their experiences to exactly where it is in relation to the trail, so on and so forth.
Okay, thank you, Chris.
You're very
Emily?
welcome.
Could I make one more comment, please?
Sure.
We know that there were concerns from 20 Landmark and 2 Landmark. And as you saw from Chris, who spent the afternoon taking these pictures and making the maps, bless his heart, we do not have anything in the area of 20 Landmark. We do near 2 Landmark, but again, it's further away. And where the trail comes together, the kiosk is further down there and the 2 benches. So I think this area people are not stopped anyway. They're going up toward Chelmsford or coming down. It's not an area where people already stopped. And the person there had said that, we give scant consideration to the opinion and impact on the residents, and we attempt to slide such projects through with minimal visibility and discussion. And we really feel like today we're taking their concerns very much to heart and trying to make this installation not impact them. We have about 1.5 miles of Westford, and we're putting it in areas that are not adjacent to abutters' houses. There is a wonderful woman on Shelley Lane who may be here tonight, and she has had the Westford Conservation Trust clear a path through her land so that her neighbors on Shelley can access the rail trail directly instead of having to go all the way out Shelley to 27. So, you know, it's different neighbor perspectives of how the rail trail can be utilized. And I would just hope that you all would support this. We've never had any abutter meetings for anything. We didn't have it for the kiosk or the benches or the crossing. It's just stuff that the Friends feel that we can enhance people's experience on the rail trail without negatively impacting people close by. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily. Comments or questions from the board? Mark?
Yeah, so I had asked the question earlier today about whether any abutter meetings had been held, and as Emily mentioned, the answer was no. So I think this is a very cool project. I definitely support it, but I can't support it unless there's at least a conversation. I wouldn't want that to happen, whether it was 150 feet, 250 feet from my home, without at least having the conversation and understanding, having the people who were doing it understanding my concerns. Again, specifically because these are not absolute placements at this point. These are just thoughts about where they might go. So I would support this if there were conversations with the abutters who've raised a concern, or at least have a meeting beforehand.
I think they're represented here tonight.
Some of them are,
You
sure.
can have a meeting with them, not tonight though.
Other comments from Anita?
I love this idea. I love the idea of bringing art and having it visible so people can enjoy it. I think it's a really creative idea. I was actually in another meeting earlier today, and I brought this up, and people who had experienced it in West Concord said it was awesome. I do have a question about whether or not there's flexibility in the number of doors. If there is an abutter or two who feel very strongly about the proximity to their land, is that something you consider? I guess maybe adding into that conversation of that meeting that Mark is suggesting.
We're flexible, although we have given the doors back to the artists to rehab. I know that the Umbrella is doing this along the Minuteman Bikeway in Arlington and Lexington too, and they're working in Newton to install doors, not on a rail trail in Newton, but throughout the community. So I'm sure we could do less. We figured that 6 in 1.5 miles isn't saturation.
Tom?
Just also agree that it sounds really exciting, and it looks like something that'll, you know, continue to bring new life to an already very exciting place in town. I don't know whether we will do that tonight, if that's still in front of us, but I'm interested in hearing what any of the community members who've joined us have to say, just so I can kind of calibrate what the nature of the concerns might be. And I do think some sort of, you know, open meeting where you can address those concerns and hear where people are might be useful to the process.
Okay, and I will just add my 2 cents, which is that I think this is a really cool idea as well. And you know, I've been in other places where there's been public art like this, and just to be walking along a trail and all of a sudden you come to, you know, a piece of public art, and it's just it's fun, it's cool, it's great. So I certainly fully support this. I do know that we do have a couple of abutters on. I just see 2, I think. I don't know if there are others, but Mr. Bentley, I see that you have your hand up. So I am assuming that is because you would like to ask a question or make a comment. So if Mike, you could unmute Jeff Bentley, and Jeff, if you would unmute yourself, then we can hear from you.
You should be able to hear him now. Jeff, hello?
Jeff? Has he unmuted himself, Mike?
Yep, shows that way. His question was actually that he couldn't see the presentation earlier
Right,
on.
I saw that. I didn't know if he had another question or a comment to make as well.
Don't know.
Meanwhile, while you and he are trying to work that out, it looks like that Sarah Chmielewski, if I mispronounced your last name, I apologize, also has her hand up. So if we can unmute her and she unmute herself.
Yeah, can you hear us, Sarah? Oh, no, you're muted again.
Okay, great. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Hi. Thanks for having me. I'm in a butter on the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail. I'm at 17 Shelley Lane. So we love the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail. We're on it once or twice a day. Westford Conservation was so kind. They cut a trail through our property, and now there are a lot of our fellow residents on Shelley Lane also use this, because my primary concern were kids riding their bicycles along Route 27, and I thought that was very scary. And so I really appreciate Westford Conservation for doing that, and the Pedestrian Safety Committee as well were involved. So our house is rather far from the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail. So I was looking at the GIS, maybe we're about 200 feet. So we are pretty far back, but and then also I would suggest my property for the installations, but it is a very steep slope all along it with the big rail there. But I guess my comment is that I have no problem with our installations, and I would love to see them on the rail trail, and I appreciate the Friends of the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail immensely, and all the work that they do to maintain it and come up with these great ideas. So
Thank you.
thanks.
Before I get to you, Chris, let me just go back. Mike, Jeff Bentley wrote, that he is unmuted. Have we
He
fixed
shows us unmuted.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes,
Oh,
now
great.
we can.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, thank you for allowing me to speak, and I appreciate the gestures that have made to address abutter concerns. I just had a couple of other points to make. The first being that, going back to the parking issues that we had when the rail trail was opened, there has been strife before around the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail and amenities that are put in there. And I think, as was pointed out earlier, communication is a key thing to help abutters understand before this comes to some decision point what plans there are. And I would just point out that Emily Teller was at my residence 2 months ago when this was in the planning stage on behalf of the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail, and she never mentioned this. It was a great opportunity, and I would just like to encourage the Friends to consider abutters' concerns in the planning process. We had a great opportunity when she was standing on my front porch. We never heard a word until we saw this on the agenda. So again, I would support a meeting of abutters prior to any approval of this. We've also requested that the select board mandate a 200-foot separation from any residences. I certainly would appreciate having that embodied in any approval that goes forward so that we can be sure that abutters are not impacted. And I guess lastly, I would say that while apparently they've declared success in the West Concord installation, the phase 1 rail trail in Westford is narrower by a significant amount than the trails where the previous installation went on. It's only 10 feet in Westford. It's 12 to 14 feet in the newer sections. So the issue of congestion, if these are placed along, if they're not placed at trailheads, if they're placed just along the trail, the potential for congestion and safety certainly needs to be mitigated. So I would hope that in addition to abutter issues, safety issues and the potential for congregation be also addressed in a community meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't see anybody else with their hands up. Chris, you had raised your hand earlier, Chris Barrett. Did you want to make a further comment?
Yes, please. Just as a matter of process, if we are leaning towards doing some sort of community meeting on this, I was curious as to which entity would be responsible for holding that meeting, notifying abutters, and how far we would be going in terms of the radius of notification to abutters. Is that we use the standard 300 feet, or what are we looking at?
So off the top of my head, I would think that we've used the standard 300 feet, which is what we use when we do planning board notifications for subdivision. And I guess we'd have to get the abutter list from the assessor's office to do that. I guess, Jody, in terms of, I think, Chris, honestly, I think probably, it's the friends who need to, run and organize this. But I think with the assistance of Jody, can someone from town hall, the town staff, help them in terms of getting the abutter list and getting notices out to people? Jody's nodding her head yes.
Well, I think as an alternative suggestion, may I put forth the Parks and Rec Commission take this on and maybe run with this? I think that's probably more appropriate than the Friends do it, just because it's really the Park and Rec that does most of the maintenance and care and feeding for that particular amenity. It is considered a linear park, so I think it probably seems prudent for them to take a stab at bringing the abutters in to hear, and we'll go from there.
I have no problem with that. Jody, is that okay?
Can I make another statement?
Hang on a minute. My entire screen has just frozen. So I can hear you folks, but all of you are in interesting frozen positions.
I'm fine with that.
Okay. Okay, Emily, go ahead.
I think I would just like to protest where this is going a little bit. I have a really difficult time with two abutters derailing this entire process. I understand that they're concerned, but these particular abutters have been concerned every time the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail comes up anywhere in town. And they really have derailed, I have to use the pun, a lot of good things that would have been proposed in Westford. And I think it's unfair to the rest of the people along the 1.5 miles in Westford who would not have any objections to this. I'm happy to not have any doors behind 2 and 20 Landmark. But I think it really is unfair. The Friends is a nonprofit organization. For us to get the abutters together, that's going to be May or June. I just think it's unfair. I'm happy to have heard and responded to their concerns, but I think they are negative for the sake of being negative. I know they circulated a petition about this to people in the area, and no other people came up to this meeting tonight. And I think that their language was very negative and frightening. And I think that's the perspective that they give, fear and bad consequences. And in fact, the rail trail is not that. And people who use the rail trail are not malingerers, and they're not out for negative things. They just want to enjoy a ride between Lowell and eventually Framingham. And I just think it's unfair for this particular weight of these two families to have the town organization and this nonprofit group that stretched to fund the installation to have to pay for mailings to everybody, then get a meeting. It's just not fair. Thank you.
Mark?
Yeah, so I completely disagree with that. And so if you're asking for my vote tonight, the answer is going to be no.
Fine, there are some other people on the board that could vote on this also.
Tom?
Just with respect to everybody who's been part of this, it sounds like there has been a lot of activity that at least I haven't had any exposure to. So since this board's making the decision, I think it is good process to invite people into the discussion, and I have no feeling, but we're going to find a successful way to do this. But just when we do many other things that potentially can affect the butters, we invite the conversation. So I guess to minimize disruption, Andrea, maybe I'll ask Jody. I wouldn't want to have this drag on until June, as Emily says. What's a reasonable time frame, do you think, Jody, that we could help organize this? Maybe have the conversation run by Parks and Rec and get this back in front of us.
I think we could do it very quickly. We would just need to get the notices out, have Parks and Rec give us a date, and really do it as quickly as they're able to meet. Usually we give a week's notice. So I think we could hold a meeting next week if that was the pleasure of the board.
Could we get this done so that we could vote on this at our next meeting?
Yes, if the Parks and Rec department can meet next week.
Okay, I mean, maybe I would like to get this done as quickly as possible. I'd like to have this back on our meeting for the, whatever that date is, the 20. Mr. Clerk, what would that date be?
27th, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Back on our meeting for the 27th. So perhaps with, a message to the Parks and Recs that we would ask that they do their very best to get this together, to have a meeting, sometime next week, late next week. And so that it could be reported back to us for our meeting on the 27th. Does that work for folks?
Works for me.
Okay.
Don't know about Parks and Rec. It's fine with me. I'll be there on the 27th.
Okay. Why don't we check with?
In the meantime, I will send the presentation to Mr. Bentley if I can get his email address.
Why don't, if it is okay with Mr. Bentley as opposed to announcing it at this meeting, Emily, why don't we get it from him and we can forward it to you?
Perfect, thank you.
Okay. So why don't
Madam Chair, I can get that from him through a private chat message and then pass it on if he wants.
Great, thanks, Mike. Okay, so I think we have a plan here. And we will put this back on our agenda for April 27th. I think Emily and Chris, as you did hear, at least from the board members, in concept, we all think that this is a pretty cool idea.
Thank you. I might ask for one of the select board to be at that abutter meeting. We'll let you know when it happens, and maybe somebody can come. Anita is the liaison, but I'll just send it out to Jody. And
yeah, I was going to say, once we know when it is, Emily, somebody from the board will be there, one or more of us, okay?
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Emily.
Thank you.
Okay, we're at our 7:25 p.m. item, which is an update on COVID-19 and impact on town operations. And I guess, Jody, the only thing we have under this tonight is our continued discussion with Ryan Cobley about Memorial Day commemorations. So, Ryan, I do believe you're out there.
I am.
And great. If you could update us.
So.
And also the public.
Okay, sorry. So not much have changed, as far as the masks, the parade rules and everything so far. There has been COVID-19 cases in Massachusetts, and Westford has been trending upwards since we last spoke on the 23rd of March. And in those last 3 weeks, I believe 3 weeks ago, we were in like the high 20s, maybe 29. It might have been 39. I'm not completely sure, but now we're up to 76 active cases in town. As far as the virtual ceremony goes, we I believe have up to 5 personal video tributes now, which is something that wouldn't be able to incorporate in person as well. But that's going very well, so that's on track, and still just looking for a recommendation on where we want to go with this, in person or virtual.
So Ryan, do you have a sense of what do the veterans want to do? Okay, I mean, you know, are they sort of willing, if we hold something in person and on the common again, are they willing to, you know, come out and be there, or not? Because I think, you know, that comes into play here too.
Sorry, I just muted myself again. So some would like to do in person, some would not. It's kind of like a 50-50 is what I'm getting. But then we could run into the other issues with, you know, the performers. If we have a band, it's probably going to be limited to 10 or less. And they have to be 25 feet away from the first row of the audience. Just the space and keeping everyone distance probably will be difficult, as long as, and attendance as well.
Right. So usually, I mean, if we're not, I think we're not going to, at the very least, we're not going to have a parade, because we can't have a parade under Massachusetts regs right now. And the band is usually at the front leading us all in. And then my recollection is that they are, if they were there, they were 25 feet away from the front row. So I don't actually see that as an issue if they were there. But I guess, you know, and then I'll let other folks speak. I mean, if, you know, my whole, you know, right now under state regs, we're allowed to have public gatherings for 150 people or more outdoors with proper space, obviously. And, you know, if there is some way, even if it's in a modified way, that we could do something on the town common to commemorate Memorial Day, I think it would be a nice thing to do. But that is my personal opinion, and I don't know what other folks on the board think. And certainly incorporate it with anything that we do, Ryan, absolutely incorporate everything you've done in terms of, you know, a virtual ceremony and getting, and the videos that you've already recorded, for sure. So I don't know if anybody else on the board has thoughts. My screen.
Tom's hand is up, Andrea. Tom's hand is up.
Thanks. My screen is frozen again. So go ahead, Tom.
So Ryan, thanks for putting together this recommendation. I read here in your notes that you're proposing that we continue with virtual. I guess my feeling is that although it's unfortunate, I can see the advantage of going virtual again this year. It seems like you're going to have both of, at the very least, even if we did a in-person, it would be some of each. I'm not sure how you'd involve the people who were there with the virtual part, like the virtual tributes. And also, I'd be a little bit worried that the numbers might get really small if we're dividing things out that way. So it seems to me that there's some wisdom in putting our focus on the virtual again this year, with every expectation that we'll be back all face-to-face next year.
Mark?
Yeah, so just a question, Ryan. I've just been thinking, I mean, I agree with what Tom has said, and seems like just such a shame not to, you know, allow the community to honor the veterans, even if all the veterans don't want to be there. And I'm wondering if there's a way for, you know, for us as a, well, it won't be me, but the select board to be, you know, doing what we normally do, and whoever wants to come out, and if the veterans who were there, they would see it, and those who weren't there, it was all being done on Westford Cat. So you kind of have this best of both worlds. Those who aren't comfortable would still be able to participate because they'd be seeing it, you know, online and virtually, and those who did want to be there would get, you know, that element of it as well. Doesn't necessarily have to be the band if that causes some other things, but I'm wondering if that's possible. I know Jim loves to give his speeches during those days, and I know that's a very passionate thing for him, being up on stage and doing that. I know we all like to do that as well. So anyway, that's just a thought.
I think that's a great idea. And maybe we could talk to Westford Cat to see if they can live stream it from the Common, Mark. And that would do exactly what you're saying, is those folks who want to attend can come to the Common. Those folks who feel more comfortable in their home can watch it from their home. But I guess, as I said, I would really like to be able to do something on the Common again this year. And even if it's a very small group of people who attend.
Yeah, I'm thinking, I'm sorry, Andrew, but I'm thinking if, again, it's weather dependent, but I think there's such a demand for people to get out, wanting to be outside. And I know the passion that the people in town have for the veterans. And it would be, if, knock on wood, if it were a great day and the Westford Cat was live streaming it and you could see all these people, in their chairs, distanced, of course, being able to have Westford Cat display that, show that on their cameras to those who wanted to stay home. I think it'd be quite an honor.
And I agree. And the other thing that we always do, and I don't believe we were able to do last year, is of course we always read the honor roll during the ceremony as well. And it would, I think, it would be nice to be able to do that again. And I know that's very meaningful to people here in Westford, and particularly their families. Anita?
I'm just saying something because I haven't said anything yet. I'm in support of that idea. I think that sounds great.
So maybe we can, Ryan, if that would work for you, maybe what we can do is get in touch with Westford Cat and Sarah Fletcher and see if live streaming from the Common is something they can do, and then we can work together to put that together and put together what a program on the Common would look like in conjunction with the virtual memorial that you're also already setting up.
Yes, that sounds great. I will reach out to him. I'll find out the logistics of it, and we'll continue with the virtual, and we'll figure out what we can do for on the Common, and if we can actually live stream it as well.
That would be great. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me tonight.
Okay. Jody, do we have anything else to update on COVID? No. Okay. All right. Then we are now at our 7:35 p.m. item, which is old and new business. And the first is we have a request to approve and sign the May 4th town election warrant and an update from the town clerk on procedures. So Patty, that's you again.
And here I am. Okay, I'll make it brief and to the point. So we had 4 elections last year during a pandemic, plus 2 town meetings. So we got pretty good at this, and we're having another one. So all the polls will be open on election day, all 6 of the schools. We're also having vote by mail because the state has extended the March 31st deadline that they had to do that to August 1st to help local towns do their help towns do their local elections. We are going to have the ballot box that is a repurposed library book deposit box back out behind the town hall. It's already there. The ballots will start to go out this week. If folks want to vote by mail, they do need to fill out an application. It's available online. It's available in our office. You can come into the town hall and fill it out. I would be happy to mail it to you if that works for you as well. I do want to mention what Andrea had said earlier. Tomorrow is a deadline for voter registration. This, I want to reiterate because this causes confusion. If you're already a voter in Westford, you don't have to re-register. Once you're registered at your address, you're a voter. That's it. It's when you move to another location, you need to re-register to vote. You can vote in person, registered vote in person at the town clerk's office, or you can go online, and you have until 11:59 to do it online on the 14th, and you'd be all set for the town election. I hope I didn't get into too much there, but it's easy. Just make sure you're registered to vote. The other thing I just want to mention is the League of Women Voters is having candidates night tomorrow night. It is at 7 p.m. Let me just look here because Diane gave me some details. It's being streamed live and it will also be recorded. So if you miss it tomorrow night, it will be on again and you can catch the candidates and their views. And I guess that's about it. Oh, I do want to mention schools are closed on election day, which is May 4th. So there's a lot less people open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. I think I got everything. Unless you have questions, I just ask that you sign the warrant. Thank you.
Patty, do we have to come in and sign the warrant in person, or can you use our electronic signatures?
I can use your electronic signatures. It doesn't have to go to the Attorney General. So I think we're good to go.
Okay.
Okay.
Great. Are there any questions from the board? Okay. And I don't see any questions online. So I need a motion to sign the warrant.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor? Anita?
Aye.
Mark?
Yes.
Tom?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Okay.
You are
great.
all set. Thank
Thank
you,
you very
Patty.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Next, we have a request from Nancy Cook on behalf of Sea and New Sun to conduct a fundraiser by allowing signs on Westford's traffic islands as previously done by Westford against substance abuse. Okay, so we can get Nancy up.
Can you hear us, Nancy?
I can hear you. We are here.
And we can hear you.
All right. I wanted to, let me see. Mike, can we put up the camera so I can show you the sign?
Oh, okay.
We'll be almost brief, not quite as brief as Patty. There we go. Okay. Thank you guys for seeing us, hearing us tonight. I have Jackie Zigowitz, who's the chair of our Local Sands Committee, and Peggy Duffy here. And Jackie's going to tell you a little bit about what we want to do and a little bit about Sands.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for being here to listen to us. I just want to say hello and want to begin by sharing. There's our homing signs. Well, I might as well share a picture of my brother, who I just want to talk a little bit about. I just want to share my brother Michael. He was the youngest of 5. Michael lived life to the fullest, and he cherished the time he spent with family and friends. Sorry, I get a little emotional. Michael was always there when you needed him. He could cheer you up with his contagious smile, which you couldn't help but return. Michael's warm, he's loving, huggable. He always had a positive attitude. Michael was a good listener. He was a motivator. 2 qualities that made him a good person and a great teacher. Michael was 29 when he took his life. I just wonder if you've lost someone to suicide. If you have, then you know the effects of suicide. If you haven't, I pray for your sake, you never have to live the effects of suicide. Sea and New Sun Foundation is a nonprofit organization founded by the Whitcomb family and a group of concerned citizens in 2002. Barbara Whitcomb's son and our own Tim Whitcomb's brother, Brian Whitcomb, took his life January 9th, 2000, at the age of 31. Sands primarily operates on grassroots level, working with schools, churches, and local organizations to raise awareness of the true nature of suicide and substance abuse. We are currently working in Littleton and Westford to help make a difference. Sands seeks to expand services offered to organizations and works to customize offers in a sensitive yet effective way. The SOS program has been the main program that SANS funds in the schools. The Heron Project, which is currently in WA and supported by the organization. SANS is also part of the Littleton Coalition Against Addiction. Since SANS started its necessary work, it has successfully reported multiple incidences of preventive suicides and represents hundreds of grateful recipients of all programs. Since joining two organizations into one SANS is embracing our expanded mission of substance abuse. The organization works with the Board of Health, schools, and communities to promote substance awareness. Several years ago, the SOS program was brought into Westford by Sue Hanley.
Who's on tonight, who's online also.
She's with us tonight. The cost is $25,000. And unlike Littleton, where the cost is shared between the town and the school department, Sue has had to fundraise to put this critical program in our schools. SANS has helped fund this program. Starting January of 2022, $25,000 will be due again. The SOS program has been a very successful program. The pandemic has caused mental health crisis even more than it was. We are in desperate times. Our middle schoolers need our help. It is our duty to bring mental health awareness to the front in all schools and our community. The SOS high school program is the only school-based suicide prevention program listed on the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration's National Registry of Evidence-based programs and practices that address suicide risk and depression, while reducing suicide attempts. In a randomized control study, the SOS program showed a reduction in self-reported suicide attempts by 40%. SANS has done many things. We host support groups twice each month for survivors of suicide. We have created SOS care bags that we have here that we gave to our first responders to hand out if needed at a scene of an emergency. They hold suicide prevention crisis hotlines. Also, we offer grants to our first responders for mental health treatment. I'm happy to say we offer grants to our first responders. I'm saddened that we wrote our first check for one of our own first responders just recently. We offer a scholarship to both Westford and Littleton High School graduating seniors looking to further their education in Westford in mental health. We would like to offer so much more for our middle schoolers, our high school teachers, and residents at large. We can't do more without fundraising, without the funding. Adopt an Island program would help us offset costs for the SOS, interface, and much more here in Westford. So I hope that you would consider letting us adopt the Island programs. Thank you.
Thank you.
So
Comment?
we hope to do it.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, Nancy. I
We
didn't.
hope to do it like WASA has done it. There's 28 signs. I think we provided you with a list of where they could go. Jackie has she made those herself, those signs. And we have said we would maintain them if some of them have looked pretty ragged after the first planting. And we have said that we would keep them neat so that they don't look ragged if we're given the permission. I think Sue Hanley is on mic and wanted to say something, but if you guys have any questions, or we're just looking for your support so we can continue the work we've been doing.
Okay. So questions or comments from the board? Tom?
Just to thank you for the excellent work you're doing, and it's such an important topic, and I'm really glad that you're being so generous of yourselves and your time to help us keep some focus on this where it needs to be.
Thanks, Tom. We appreciate that.
Mark?
Yeah, just reiterate Tom's part and just to make sure that you understand how supportive. I think it's not just us, right? You have an entire community who absolutely supports not only this initiative, but thanks you for all the volunteer work that you do towards this effort. And Sue as well. I know she's been very involved in these kinds of things over a long period of time. So thank you.
Great. She's great. Thank you, Mark.
Anita?
I mean, I'm just going to add to what everyone else has already said about all the hard work that you're putting into this. Mental health is obviously a really big issue for us as well. And I'm happy that it's sort of built into the school budget and stuff this year. You'll hear a little bit about it if you haven't been following the budget discussions, at least for the schools. And I do have a question though, because I know that this was forwarded on to legal, and I am in full support of the organization and everything that you do. I do have a question about the precedent that this would set and whether or not, like, I just, like, you know, I know that there's been issues before about people who accidentally place signs in the traffic islands. There's like a sightline blockage. There's like issues there. And I was just wondering if we could talk a little bit about that piece.
Yes, we have, Jody forwarded that to us also, and we have, I understand, I think the precedent has been set, but I know it's different times and a different world we live in. We do have, Jackie worked with Chip to come up with the size, the width, so that they wouldn't be in the way.
Wouldn't be a blockage.
So they wouldn't be a blockage. He told her where he thought they should go, how they should be placed in the islands, and thought that the ones that I was waving at you would be perfect size.
So the sign itself is 12 by 18, and it would sit in the ground. It would be 2 feet from the ground to the top.
As for the president, Anita, I don't know, I guess it's kind of, I feel like the flag we put in the common this summer, you have to take it on a case by case. And I know if you say yes to one, you have to say yes to everyone. And maybe you want to give us a 10-year on the, push it down the road to another board.
I have a question, just if we allow this and if you put your signs up, okay, do they stay up like all year, 12 months a year, or do you take them down? One of the things I'm concerned about is, you know, if we get a winter and we're plowing and, you know, snow gets plowed into the islands, et cetera. So what's the plan about that?
So our plan amongst ourselves is to take them down in the fall and clean up the mess and come back to you in February and ask permission to do it again next year so that we can get an earlier start and get them in and get the flowers planted earlier. That's
Nancy, you know as well as I do, February could still be too early in New England.
not too early for your permission to get us going on this.
You know, Anita did raise the issue, and I guess, you know, it is, and I fully support what you're doing, as does everybody along with the board. But I think just at least for the board, we do need to think about what council said to us, and that if we are inclined to allow this, it does open the door to us having to allow anybody else who wishes to put some sort of sign on the island, the ability to do so, regardless of whether we are as supportive of what the next person brings as we are of this proposal. So I bring that up just for the board to think about as we're thinking about this decision. Anita?
Yeah, I had a couple of questions kind of reading through legal's response. And one is, what if there's like multiple people who want to use one, if there's one extra large island, like what happens there? And then also, right now this is for fundraising, but then what if there's somebody who wants to like advertise something that's not fundraising? Where is that line? And do we need to create a policy around that? Like there was like one sentence where I'm sorry, I don't remember who responded from legal, but he was like fundraising and advertising. I'm like, what if it's for advertising? What does that mean for us? And then do we, you know, I'm just unclear on what that looks like.
Mark?
Yeah, so I just have a thought on this. I think the process questions are valid for sure. And I don't think we're going to solve them tonight. So maybe what we have is an opportunity to go forward with this and at future meetings, when someone else is sitting in this chair, you put together.
Thanks, Mark.
You have that discussion and debate. I do think it's a valid, question, but I think these guys are looking to get this done now. We're coming to the end of April, and so I'd make a motion to go ahead and approve this for the year, and that a future board have discussions about what the process needs to be going forward.
Okay. Tom? You're muted.
I'll happily second the motion. I just want to make sure the chair saw that Sue Hanley is trying to make a comment
Before we take a vote on the motion, I know Sue Hanley does have her hand up and wants to comment. And then I also just want to say something in response to Mark, but let me get to Sue first. So Sue, if you would unmute yourself, and Mike unmute Sue.
Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, thank you. So I just want to talk in support of Nancy and Jackie. First of all, I think as the town right now, there's a task force going on. Tom and Andrea, Jody, we're all on this task force, and a lot of it is about raising awareness for mental health. What I love about the signs being out there is that it's raising awareness, and working in the school system, the effect of this pandemic on mental health has been just catastrophic. And the thought of having signs out and about, talking about it and showing that this town is in support of CNU Sun has been in support of mental health, initiatives. And I have to say that, Nancy took over from Barbara Wickham, who has been incredibly supportive of the interface referral service. Jackie had referenced it. We've had it in town since 2011. $126,000 has been raised to go towards interface, and CNU Sun gave a lot of that money, gave some of that money, and Team Forever Young helped out as well. And the SOS program has been in our middle schools for about the past 11 years or so. And every single year we pick up students with mental health issues and that we didn't know about. So the more that we can advertise mental health and the fact that our town is in support of this, the better off we are. So I just want to make sure everybody knows that I am in awe of what Nancy, Jackie, and that whole team has done. And it's been an honor and a privilege to have been part of their team.
Thank you. Anita?
Great, thanks. And thanks to Sue too for all of the work that you do for the fundraising for Interferal and or just kind of creating more awareness around it as well. I have a question. If you've already if you've already calculated the math, and if you're able to, how many islands do you need to cover for what period of time to kind of reach are you able to cover the full amount using just the traffic islands?
No. We have a fundraiser on May 5th at Aviva with raffles. We'll be down there from the 24th. We're doing, some of you have already got letters from me. Thank you very much. Asking for donations. It's almost a constant, but no.
And mental health.
I mean,
it's there. And as long as, especially we're in COVID, it's only getting worse. Our kids need us. They're struggling.
So I'm back on process. Okay, and I have a process question in terms of your suggestion, Mark. And it may be that Jody, we need counsel to answer this. I'm concerned, and I admit this is probably my lawyer hat speaking, but I'm concerned that if we approve this before we have a policy in place, if in some way, our approval of this sort of negates our ability to then put a policy in place, ex post facto, so to speak, after the fact. I don't think it does, to be honest. But it is a question that I have, and I just want to make sure, that we're not doing something that may, in the end, we find out that we we can't do, Mark, because we've already approved this. So I don't know that we can answer that question tonight. And I guess, and I recognize and understand you want to get these signs up as quickly as possible. I appreciate that. I want them up, you know, I mean, we all support this. I guess I'm wondering if, you know, we can get a quick answer from town council about that. And assuming that the answer is no, we are not prevented or prohibited from initiating and drafting a policy after we approve this. Can we perhaps approve it, you know, contingent upon hearing town council's answer to that? So I just want to make sure that, you know, down the road, we haven't done something that in some way, you know, we end up, you know, has unintended consequences. And recognizing also that you guys want to get this done as quickly as possible. So Mark, and then I'm going to ask Jody.
Oh, yes, go ahead. I didn't know if Jody wanted to speak yet or not.
Well, I mean, council did give us a page and a half of kind of concerns. And I think what I got out of it is that if you're going to allow it at all, people have a right to say what they want to say by the First Amendment. So it's complex. I'm not sure you can tailor a policy that allows things you like and doesn't allow things you don't like. So whatever the pleasure of the board is, I mean, I guess what I would say, and I'm not an attorney, but if the board, you know, felt driven to approve this and then in the future felt it hadn't been a good idea because all of a sudden we're flooded with requests and there's signs all over our islands, I think you could probably disapprove it. But I don't have the answer that you're asking for, Andrea. I didn't think you did, Jody. I mean, I didn't expect an answer. I guess, you know, in drafting a policy and sort of questions for town council, and again, can't be answered tonight and need to be the future, is, as Anita suggested, can we limit it to, you know, only fundraising for nonprofit, you know, institutions, and, you know, you can't advertise your business there, okay, kinds of things. And, you know, are there any limitations that we can put on this that don't run afoul of the First Amendment? And I don't know the answer to that question. Mark?
Yeah, so question. So for years, the WASA was like, to who approved those? And I know on 110, Whole Foods has got, you know, a thing in the middle of the island there. And I know there's a couple of other spots where, you know, there's like, who's approving all this stuff or who's doing it in the first place? I
don't know who originally, oh, go ahead, Jody, because I don't know who approved it.
I did look that up and I believe it was 2012 and it was the select board approved WASA. I think what council's concerned about is times are different than they were even in 2012. So just understand that what you're doing and what might come of it. So, but this board did approve it in 2012 for WASA.
Not this board. Not this board.
You might have not been on it, but.
Tom?
So, Andrew, so I'm just following up on your suggestion. So one suggestion is that we basically approve it pending learning from council that either we can draft an appropriate policy after the fact, or I guess in the worst case, if we found that it's a blanket policy that we either have to allow everybody or nobody, we'll know that.
Right.
And if it turns out that that's really the law and we can't control it at all, and at some future point we decide, look, it's in the best interest of the town to restrict it, we can. But it seems like those are the two outcomes. Either, you know, it is reversible after the fact if we deem it necessary for the public good, or we can draft a policy that will put appropriate limits on it after the fact. If we can get confirmation from the attorney for those two, then I suggest we vote on this provisional on hearing those two pieces of information.
Yeah. And Anita?
I just have a quick clarification question, and I'm sorry if I just missed this before, but the time that it's going to be up there, I know you said you're going to you would take the signs down in May, or they would go up in May?
They'd go up in May.
Up in May.
Right, and they'll come down in the fall, September-ish. Before the ground freezes, the signs would come out, Anita.
Yeah, I guess my only question is like, of course, I'm totally in support of disc golf, right? I feel like I have to keep saying that as a disclaimer, but I'm just like, well, but then what about any other organization that wants to do fundraising, that wants to use that island, right? So then it's like, we wouldn't be able to let anyone else use it during that same time, which is basically the only time I feel like you'd be able to post a sign. So I'm just kind of wondering, I know that's another process question, but I'm just trying to figure out like equity around this too, right? For the other organizations that have similar, or, you know, just as also important causes.
Has anyone else asked since Blossom? Has anyone else ever asked?
Not that I know of.
Jody's got her hand up.
Jody, yeah, I know, I see Jody.
Yeah, council's opinion is you will have to allow the other organizations that ask to do this too. So you don't have a policy that says you're just going to allow one sign per island. So that's what council said, is you would have to allow, even if you don't like the message.
This is ridiculous, but I get it. So
we do have, let me get to Tom, and then I am mindful that we do have a motion and a second on the floor. I haven't forgotten that.
Well, I think Anita brings another good point up, but I think it basically falls into the same buckets, that we'll ask further clarity from council and confirm that this decision, if it proves unworkable, can be reversible. So I guess I'm in the same place as before, if Mark is willing to do it, to amend the motion to make our approval contingent on confirming that it is reversible after the fact, if we deem that to be in the public good, and we can further learn. I understand what it says in this letter, but we can further explore the idea of whether there's any other sort of policy we can apply to this.
Mark, are you willing to amend your motion?
Yeah, contingent upon us making a decision at the meeting on April 26th.
Absolutely.
7th, sorry.
Absolutely.
Because after that, who knows who'll be here. You could have some lunatic in this chair, more so than me.
And no, I would want to have a final decision by our next meeting for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't see.
Yeah, so I'll amend my motion to be contingent upon council's input and to be reviewed at April 27th.
Okay. All right, and Tom, you'll go along with that, right? As
Thanks.
the second. Okay. With that, all those in favor, Mark?
Yes.
Tom?
Aye.
Anita?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you both very much. Thank you for all the work that you're doing on this. We are very grateful and appreciative.
We appreciate your support. Thank you. Have a good night.
You too. Okay, we're at our next item, which is a request to file an Article 97 Home Rule petition to transfer 2 easements upon conservation land to the Select Board for the Beaver Brook Bridge project. And this is Steve Cronin.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you. So the engineering department's been working to secure the necessary easements for the Beaver Brook Road Bridge project that's scheduled for construction in 2022. 2 of those easements are actually on conservation land and will need to be transferred from the Conservation Commission to the Select Board for this project, as was approved by town meeting. Because these parcels are protected under Article 97 of the amendments of the Massachusetts Constitution, A 2/3 vote of the legislature is required in order to authorize the transfer. So with assistance from town council, we provided you with some proposed legislation as well as a letter to our state representatives, which requests that they file the special legislation with the Massachusetts General Court on behalf of the town.
Okay. Any questions or comments? I don't see any. So is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Anita?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Mark?
Yes,
Yes. Thanks, Steve.
he's not done.
I know he's not. We have an update on the Boston Road project following the 25% design public hearing.
Yep, just wanted to provide you with a brief update on the Boston Road project. So the engineering department has been working with Mass DOT and our design team at TEC to advance the project through the 25% design public hearing stage, which we held virtually on January 4th. We received a bunch of comments and concerns from residents that we've done our best to address to the maximum extent possible. And we forwarded those responses along to Mass DOT so that they could continue to incorporate some of those into the design. Since the preliminary design that you saw, I believe it was last year, we have made some improvements to the plans. Namely, we've completed the preliminary drainage design and calculations. We're going to be performing some test pits this week, actually, to verify the soil conditions and see if they're conducive to those design plans. We did have medians incorporated in the preliminary design, which we actually removed out of concern for public safety vehicles, as well as traffic on Boston Road. We've incorporated some comments and some concerns from the Pedestrian Safety Committee into pedestrian accommodations at the intersection of Boston Road and Main Street. And we also had an update from the Northern Middlesex Metropolitan Planning Organization 2 weeks ago, which is telling us that the project has been programmed for construction funding in 2024 at a total project cost of $10.2 million. So as with any of these projects, we will be back before the board as we advance through some of the additional design stages for comments and input from the public.
Great. That's great. We're on the list, finally, for funding. That's great, Steve. Thank you to you. And I know Paul Starrett and I think Chip before he retired for all your work on this. I saw all of the comments from the public and questions that were asked, and appreciate all the time that you folks took to answer their questions. Any questions from the board? Anita?
I don't have a question, but I have a comment that at the last NIMCOG meeting that I sat in on Westford, and I'm thinking like Paul and you, Steve, got a shout out for just really shining in terms of the other towns, or just that everyone could come and learn from Westford with how like meticulous you are and how great you are at putting the plans together. So good work. I was very proud to represent Westford.
Thank you.
That's great. Thanks for sharing, Anita. All right. Thank you, Steve. And now I do believe you're done for the evening. Okay, our next item is a request from the Commission on Disability to support a plan related to improving the accessibility of town documents. And Mike, this would be you.
Yes. See, do we have this? Can you see that presentation?
I can only see half of it.
Really?
No, it's my problem.
I can see all of it.
Okay.
I can see it.
No, now I can. It was my screen. Okay.
Okay. So this is an idea that came out of the commission originally, and Ray and I worked on it for a while, and then came back to we're shedding members while they're turning their videos off. So Ray and I worked on this. We did some research. We made a little proposal to the commission. They accepted that proposal and asked us to come to the select board to get your endorsement of it as well. What we're really talking about here is creating documents in such a way that it makes it easier for people to have assistive technology to access those documents. And that thing is really all about putting all the sort of implied and metadata that's in and around a document into the document itself, so that people who are using screen readers can skip from section to section and quickly identify the headings and things like that, the section titles, can tell what the graphic items are supposed to be if they can't see them clearly. Fortunately, most of the stuff we use to build documents have these tools built in. It's really just a question of us learning to use them and having some standards about how we do it. And developing some templates that encourage those documents to get built correctly. So what we would propose to do is that we'll start by working on a couple of document types, and we will talk to the various people who produce these things and arrive at common formats that we like. We will work on how to set up those as templates that encourage the accessibility features, and then we'll run some training and point people towards resources where they can learn about how to use those features when you build a document. There's no real reason why it should be take any longer to produce a document that is accessible. It's just a question of habits and the way you go about doing it. So our suggestion was that we started with the meeting minutes and meeting agendas, that we'll come up with some standard templates for those two things. We will work on making them accessible. I think it's a good place to start for a bunch of reasons, some of them laid out here, but these are really important things for making government decision-making accessible for people with disabilities in that area. So our proposal is that we will work with department heads and the boards to look at the way they produce their minutes and produce their agendas, come up with some standard designs, create templates, run this training program, and then look for support from the board and from the town manager to push these standards into the departments and make sure they're getting used wherever we possibly can use them. And then if it's successful, circle back and look at other document types and see what we can do there as well. And that's essentially it. We're just looking for your blessing on that program, really.
Okay. I think that's terrific. And I think anything and everything we can do to make all of our public documents easily accessible to everyone is in everyone's best interest. So thank you, Mike, and also to the Commission on Disabilities for raising this issue, and Mike, for you taking ownership and working on it. So much appreciated.
You're welcome.
And any other comments from the board? Okay, seeing none. Our next item is to consider sending a notice of preliminary determination of breach under Comcast renewal license section 11.1 and 11.2. Jody, Tom, is this you who's going to talk to us about this?
I can. I was party to the discussions through Westford Cat with the people who prepared this. So the short form here is that there's a determination in bundled services that needs to be made in order to determine what fee gets generated, because the Westford Cat gets paid, the town first, and then Westford Cat. Town gets paid a fee based on cable, not on internet, not on other things that might be in the bundle. So Westford Cat participated with a bunch of other cat stations to basically have a forensic accountant look at how this was done, and the determination was that the proper gap, generally accepted accounting principle method was not applied correctly here. And so we would like to get that fixed on behalf of Westford Cat. Would like to ask the town to advocate on their behalf, since the town is a signatory with Comcast of this agreement, to basically challenge this and try to find a way to get to the right accounting interpretation so we're paid properly.
Okay.
I'd be happy to answer any questions if
Mark?
if you have any.
Yeah, so Tom, just a quick question. So have the towns approached Comcast and they've said, go pound sand, or is that not even?
That really From Westford's point of view, that has not started yet. This will be the first action taken. Comcast is familiar with this piece of accounting and this finding. They don't agree, but the act that we would take with Comcast would be this.
Okay, so that, I guess that was my question. So you know that they don't agree with the finding, we just haven't presented it to them?
Our understanding from the kind of joint work that we did with the firm that we worked with was that they didn't immediately agree with the position presented, but that is our interpretation and the interpretation of the firm that did this work.
Okay, yeah, so yeah, we should go forward.
Absolutely.
So I'll make
right.
a motion to support the sending of the letter as drafted to Comcast.
Second.
There's a second. All those in favor, Anita?
Aye.
Mark?
Yes.
Tom?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, our next item is to discuss select board appointed boards and committees releasing public statements without prior select board approval. This came about, I don't think because we disagreed with a statement that was issued as much as it was issued by the DEI committee, which we appoint without us not having any knowledge, without us seeing it. And I don't think we've ever just talked about or discussed whether we need to or not, and if we want to have a policy or not. So I know, Mark, you had asked that we put this on the agenda for a discussion. So
yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. So yeah, again, it has nothing to do with agreeing or disagreeing with what was put out, but I did find it odd because I don't recall others doing it, that boards and committees that are representing us are able to release statements that we've not at least reviewed and at least been able to communicate with one another on. So that's really the point is, otherwise, they're not really reporting to us. They're just kind of doing their own thing, which of course we know isn't true. But it just seemed like it was something that we should discuss, as these kinds of things continue to move forward.
Anita?
I feel like the theme of tonight is we believe in, we support the issue or the cause, but, there's like a procedural thing. And I don't disagree with Mark. And I guess I have a question. We just don't have that policy, right? And I think maybe there haven't been other statements in the past because the other committees wouldn't have a statement like this, right? Of the most recent one, I guess, that was released. And so I kind of wonder, but I know that other committees or similar or comparable organizations or committees or councils, whatever, in other towns release statements. And I wonder if we could get examples of policies if we wanted to adopt one. So then we have a better sense of what that procedure is, because they, at least the diversity committee did ask whether or not we had a policy, and we just don't, right? So I feel like kind of putting one in place is a good idea.
Jody?
Yeah, so I do think that committees you appoint and I appoint have released statements. We have not had a policy. I know the Energy Committee or the Clean Energy and Sustainability Committee, I think, is coming up with one right now. And I think Slider and others. So it has been done, but if you'd like to work on a policy, we certainly can.
And let's Anita go ahead and then Mark.
So does the select board approve those other statements and stuff, Jody?
They have not up until now, but no.
Mark?
Yeah, and similar to the discussion we were having about the signs, it's just a different time. Right, and topics can be divisive if by boards and committees representing us. The Slider Committee, for example, is not particularly divisive, right? Doesn't mean there shouldn't have been a policy, but that's why it really never, came up. So I just think in this environment that everybody's living in right now, if we're going to have people, again, it won't be for me going forward, but that was a committee that we appointed, right? I would have liked to have at least known what was being said on behalf. I didn't disagree with anything, but it would have been nice to know, or at least allowed the discussion to happen. So again, it's not, that's just a recommendation, a thought that I had once that happened. Obviously up to you all to determine if that's something that you want to do.
Tom?
I can see how a right of notification or something similar could be useful and support Anita's idea of maybe pulling a couple other example policies to see if there's some good idea we can borrow from another community.
Yeah, I was thinking if I don't know if other communities have it, but if they do, it would be interesting to see. Jody?
Yeah, I'm happy to pull them. I can think of a lot of committees, and I don't know if you want to make that town-wide, but the water commissioners release statements, recycling, and those two are appointed by me, but I think this is much broader than you realize. So I don't know if you want to make a blanket policy, but I could kind of see this becoming, people on boards might have issues with this if we overcomplicate this. So I don't know if it's politically sensitive statements or what you're thinking, but we have like 87 committees, and so I don't know if you're not letting anybody make a statement unless it goes through the appointed authority. I just think we need to be a little specific, or we're going to be reading a lot of statements, I think.
Well, I think that the first issue really is to decide whether or not we want a policy and if we need a policy. I think that's the first discussion to have. And then from there, we answer some of the questions that you just raised, Jody, because I honestly am not sure if we need one or not. Mark?
Yeah, so listen, this has nothing to do with whether the water commissioners want to issue a statement about their rate increase that they're going to do 2 years from now, or anything like this. It is all about things that have the potential to be controversial. And so I don't know how you want to define that, but that's where this came from. I really don't care that the water commissioners issue a statement about, a meeting that's coming up, or, I want to raise your rates 3%.
I completely get it, Mark. All I'm saying is there are a lot of statements that go out. So I think we just need to be really clear on what you're asking for, or I can see a lot of boards getting upset and delaying their work.
So here's what I would recommend for now is let's see if there are any towns or communities that have any such policies out there. And if they do, if we can gather them. And then we can bring this back for a further discussion in terms of whether those policies work for us or not, whether we want to have a policy or not. If we do, what is the policy that we want? But I think it's not something that we're going to decide tonight. And I think that we need more information before we can make a decision. Okay. Okay, great. Okay, next, we have a request from the Affordable Housing Trust Committee to disband the Affordable Housing Committee, increase the membership of the Affordable Housing Trust Committee to 11 full members, and appoint the following. Joan Coteau, Maureen George, Scott Hazelton, Karen Hudson, Drew Vernalia, and Alden Wood, all for terms right now that say expiring on June 30th, 2021. But I know that we have a memo. I got there, Jody. I know that we have a memo from the town clerk's office, in essence saying that we should not make them all expire on June 30th, 2021, because then they'd all have to be reappointed for the same number of terms, and that we should, like we do on all boards and committees, stagger them and do, I guess, 4, 4, and 3, expiring in 2021, 2022, and 2023. Have I got that right, Jody? Okay. So just as background, just to remind everybody, we, town meeting, we recommended, and at the suggestion of the Affordable Housing Trust Committee and the Affordable Housing Committee, we recommended and town meeting adopted combining these two committees into one committee for, efficiency and for just better working ability and conditions, and to appoint 11 full members. So we did that. It passed a town meeting. The legislature approved it. And now it's back before us because the last step is for us as a board again to approve it and then to appoint the members. So that's how we're here and why we need to do this tonight. So I think the first order of business is to disband the Affordable Housing Committee and increase the membership of the Affordable Housing Trust Committee to 11 full members. So I think that's the first part of a motion that I would entertain. Hint, hint.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor, Anita?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Mark?
Yes.
And I. Now, Jody, I need your help on this. How do we determine who of these people should be appointed for the various terms?
I would just appoint the people and terms to be determined with the town manager's office, and we'll do that with the chair.
Okay, that sounds like a plan. So is there a motion to appoint the folks whom I just named to the new Affordable Housing Trust Committee with terms to be determined?
So moved.
And is there a second? All those in favor? Anita?
Aye.
Mark?
Yes.
Tom?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. And last but not least on our old and new business agenda, we have a request from the Clean Energy and Sustainability Committee to increase their membership to 11 and appoint Nancy Wang as a full member for a term expiring on June 30th, 2021. Is there a
With
motion?
gratitude to Nancy, so moved.
Is there a second? Okay. All those in favor? Tom?
Aye.
Mark?
Yes.
Anita?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. So we have finally reached our first review of the annual town meeting warrant articles, and we also need to set the order of the warrant. So first of all, for everybody out there, annual town meeting will be Saturday, June 12th, 2021, held at on the field at Westford Academy again. So that's the first item of business. Jody, do we just want to run through what the articles are?
Sure. I asked Mike if he would pull it up.
Okay.
You out there, Mike?
I am. Was that the text I got like 2 seconds ago?
Yes.
Okay, hold on. Is it in the packet?
Yes.
She was going to type it to you, Mike, but she doesn't have a keyboard, so that's why she had it texted.
That's true.
Okay, you want the warrant or the motions?
Warrant, please. Okay. So Andrea, do you want me to go through this?
Sure.
Okay, so Article 1 is accept town reports. 2 is to approve fiscal year 2021 budget supplemental appropriations. 3 is to approve any 2021 budget transfers. 4 is our annual appropriate for perchlorate. 5 is to approve our capital appropriations. 6 is to appropriate from the sale of cemetery lots, receipts reserved for cemetery improvements. 7 would be seeking approval for the community preservation recommendations. 8 is to amend the wage and classification plan. 9 is to authorize revolving accounts. 10 is to approve the fiscal year 2022 operating budget. Then we move into 2022, and we have capital appropriations for 2022. Approve Chapter 90. Appropriate funds from water enterprise for water enterprise OPEB. We have a placeholder to authorize the lease for solar panels on the highway garage and Rita Miller School. And we have a placeholder to approve a pilot for the same solar panels. Administrative, we have our annual authorize the select board to accept easements. We have a citizen petition to amend the Constitution of the United States. We have another citizen petition to petition the general court for a all alcohol package store license exercised by Feng Yu Inc., located at 175 Littleton Road. We have another citizen petition to restrict motorboats on Kai's Pond. Then we have our amendment of the general and zoning bylaws to reflect inclusive language. 21 is to establish a municipal charges lien pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 40, Section 58 for unpaid stormwater utility fees. Zoning bylaw amendments, we have the planning board has an article to amend the zoning bylaw to allow for home occupations by right. They have decided to bring back their article to allow for restaurant drive-through facilities. And there is a citizen petition to not allow proposed zoning bylaw changes for 2 years after an unfavorable vote. And then there is another citizen petition to amend the zoning bylaw to expand the zoning overlay district map for senior residential multifamily overlay districts. And I think that is related to the Merrill Quarry property, which is currently for sale. So that's all of the articles that we have. If you like the, if you want us to change the order, we're happy to do so.
Any comments from the board? I don't see any. Angela, I know you're out there and as our moderator, any comments or questions or concerns about the warrant or the order?
You need to unmute yourself, Angela.
Well, she put her question up. Angela, you need to unmute yourself.
I did.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I just said I'm satisfied with the order. It all flows.
Okay. All right. So with that, Jody, you need a motion to set the order? Okay.
Sure.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Tom?
Aye.
Mark?
Yes.
Anita?
Aye.
Aye. And Chauncey, I know you sent a note saying that you would be glad to answer any questions on your proposed our zoning bylaw article, but tonight we were just running through the articles and setting the order. The select board at future meetings will be reviewing each of the articles, and will certainly let you know when your article is up for review so that you can be present and present it to the board and the public, and also answer any questions that we might have. Okay. All right, so moving along, any board reports or updates? I don't see any. We already did minutes, so we are at town manager's report.
Okay, first I have a request to accept a gift from Deborah Bernard in the amount of $50 for the Animal Control Department and establish a gift account for that department. And I will go into the contracts. We have a grant that we received from the Executive Office of Housing and Economic Development for a pilot project grant, $150,000. That's a continuation of our micro enterprise grant. We also did just receive a grant for the electric vehicle incentive public access charging program for 12 vehicle charging stations in the amount of $91,335. I'm asking you to support us announcing that Hub International will be our broker of record for procurement of health and welfare benefits for the town. And I know Mark had a question. If you want me to speak to it after, I can, or now.
Why don't we just go through all of them and then we'll come back, okay?
Clean Harbors for the hazardous waste collection event at the rates listed in the sheet, and Executive Office of Public Safety and Security for a grant awarded for firefighter safety equipment for $15,000. And New England EMS Institute for a paramedic education program. 2 purchase orders, Colonial Municipal Group for 3 2020 Ford Police Utility all-wheel drive cruisers in the amount of $147.37 and KS Carroll Excavating for work on Acton Road for the sidewalk in the amount of $21,730.
Okay. Mark, I know you had a question about the Hub International contract.
So I had just asked Jody to, I think it's important for everybody just to understand how the cost works and what it looks like relative to the firm we had before that was acquired, as well as the individual that we were using a few years prior. So that was the question.
So basically, the commissions are set by the Massachusetts Standard Commissions for Health Insurance. We had a broker for many years, and I don't know the exact percentages at that time because I think they do change over time. But I do know the current rates, which is for the first $500,000 in health insurance, it's 4%. For the next $375,000, it's 2.5. For the next $300,000, it's 1.5. For the next 17 million, it's 1%, and anything beyond that is 0.5. So any broker that we have is paid those percentages. It doesn't matter who it is. I don't know what our broker several years ago was paid. It would be, he would have been paid the same rate that any other broker was. If you remember, a couple of years ago, we decided to not hire a broker, and we hired a company to assist us, and we paid an administrative fee, a small fee. But what we learned is we could not get out of the broker fee anyway by Blue Cross Blue Shield. And so we were paying that even without a broker. So then we dropped the administrative fee and went back to a broker of record. So it is worked into the premium price, and they do not allow towns to opt out. But good news is we went through an extensive RFP process. We had 5 companies put in. We did a very extensive interview with 5 of town financial staff, and we unanimously felt that Hub had a lot to offer us, and we're very excited to move forward with them and see what we can do with health insurance moving forward.
Go ahead. Mark?
Yeah, thanks, Jody. And then the last question is, I just want to make sure everybody understands if there's any cost for any services or analyses that we want done over and above the commissions that they're being paid. The answer is
no. There's no cost, and there's a lot we plan to have them do. So I'm excited about it. I mean, that obviously they get a high premium for servicing us, but yeah, it's all included. There's no other cost.
okay. So make a motion to approve all gifts and contracts and purchase orders.
Thank you. A second?
Second.
Great. And I would just like to say for the folks who worked on the 2 grants that we've gotten, thank you very much. Once again, they are a tremendous help to our citizens. And also, you know, the charging stations are helping us obviously with clean energy and sustainability, and also very exciting now that our residents now will have a place to go to charge their cars here in town. And Hari, if you are listening, I am sorry, it's not going to be outside your house. You will have to travel to get to the charging station, but there will be charging stations for you to go to. So with that, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, Tom?
Aye.
Mark?
Yes.
Anita?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, is there a motion to waive reading correspondence?
So moved.
Okay, let's just do this by a show of hands. All those in favor?
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Great. Thank you all very much. Everybody, good night, Westford. Everybody stay safe and be well. Good night.
Night.